Q&A session. So, um, here's kind of like what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about how big the industry is right now. We're going to talk a bit about mobile game development. And I know that there's some people, I think most people that go in the industry usually want to make PC games or kind of like console games, just because that's like an older industry. But man, mobile games are really, really, really have taken the last 10 years by storm. We're going to talk a bit about kind of like what the influence of games is, more of at a high level. We usually talk about the Romanian industry, but I think we should talk a bit about kind of like what's the outlook in Eastern Europe in general, because again, the Romanian industry, you're going to see that the Romanian industry is very similar, or there's some shared stories that we have, and we're sharing some companies. And we're also going to talk about, and this is probably where I'm hoping we have an open conversation about how to join this industry. So that said, this is the coolest picture that I've ever had. And I show it around everywhere. Hello, my name is Gabriel Stancu. I am an executive producer at Amber. We do mobile games, we do casual games. I'm part of a team that does casual games. So we work with companies like Disney for Cinderella Freefall and Frozen Freefall. And Maleficent Freefall. Yeah, I'm kind of like going to show you a list of the games that we've done. We also do PC games. We also do web games because Amber is an agency. So we partner with other companies around the world to bring games to life. I've been doing this for the past 17 years. And I'm gonna like before I kind of show you the industry stats, I'm gonna kind of like tell you my story. And leave this picture on the screen. I feel a bit awkward with this picture on the screen, but essentially, I didn't know that there was back 17 years ago. I didn't know there was a game development industry in Romania. I had no clue. There were two major companies over here, Ubisoft and Gameloft. They're like some of the first to join us. Ubisoft had been around for a while. They opened an office in Romania in 1996, if I'm not mistaken. And then sometime in the early 2000s, Gameloft came along. So my friend Eugen, his name is Eugen Baicea, he actually works at Amber right now. He's a producer at Amber. Got a job as a game tester at Ubisoft. And it was a seasonal job. So the plan was to work there for the summer holiday. And so it happens that I was telling you that we are avid Magic the Gathering players, and every weekend we'd meet at a friend's house and we'd play Magic the Gathering, and we drink non-alcoholic beverages and actually alcoholic beverages, and just kind of like do the coolest thing that we could think of, which was just play games and maybe sometimes play guitar, but not to get into that. And drums, we also had drums, and we drive the neighbors crazy. We also have a bass. Yeah, it was fun. Like, we had a lot of fun. But Eugen came along and said, you know what? And he was bragging, like, I got a game, I got a job, you guys, and I got a job. And we're like, what is it? Like, I got a job as a game tester. And like, I remember, we were in the kitchen when, I still remember it to this day. We were in the kitchen. I felt kind of like my brain short-circuited, because number one, I didn't know that this job existed. Number two, I didn't know that you could get this job in Bucharest, in Romania. And then number three, just playing computer games and getting paid for that just sounded so cool. And in the meanwhile, it kind of turned into a cliche of like, you can kind of see big brands in game development coming with slogans like, get paid to play games. It's actually true. You can do this. So I didn't know this. I later, 6 months later, I got a job at Gameloft as a game tester, and my life completely changed. I had no plans to do this. I had no plans to get into the industry. I had no idea what I was supposed to do as a game tester. I had good English. I liked playing computer games. I remember at the interview they just stuck a phone in my face and they said just find as many bugs as you possibly can. And they also gave me like a sheet of paper and a pen, a piece of paper and a pen. And so I kind of wrote down. I asked for 3 additional pieces of paper because I kind of knew how to do this. I had if I wasn't playing Magic the Gathering, I was playing computer games. It was most of my life back then. So eventually I got a job, and then there was an opening as a game designer. Like 1 year later, there was an opening as a game designer, and this is back when people were like, as an industry, we were figuring out what game designers should do. So I kind of grew up. I grew in the industry, and then eventually I went into game production. And 17 years later, here I am at Amber, still making still making games, still making video games, and I don't think I want to do anything else. Like, this is probably the best industry that I could be part of, and I'm super thankful for this. So to reiterate, this industry exists, it's awesome, and I think everyone who's listening to us right now, if you're passionate about games, like, just Google game development internship, or like we can actually talk about, we do this at Amber, or just talk to the guys at Arc Academy and see what openings are out there, because it's an awesome industry, and it's kind of like a big industry. So we have some numbers. Obviously things have evolved, but like if you look at this back in 2019, the game development industry. So we're only talking about, mind you, we're only talking about game development. We're not talking about kind of like toys that are tied to game development, to gaming in general. We're not talking about gaming accessories. We're not talking about gaming chairs. We're not talking about, we're only talking about software. So computer games, PC, console, and mobile games were doing like $100 billion a year, which is a lot more than the music and the film industry combined were doing back in the day, back in 2019. And you can kind of see that a lot of the money that the film industry was making was from box office sales. In the meantime, it's 2022. We went through the pandemic. Things kind of changed, and everyone knows that right now there's a bigger focus in the film industry on digital distribution. But I'm gonna show you some more numbers. It's still the the game development industry is making even more. So it's been slowly growing. And if you look at on the left hand side, there's like PC is doing 35 billion. So 35 billion, that's probably 30% of the GDP of Romania. Consoles are doing, then mobile and console are doing even more than that. So this is like huge. The industry right now is huge, and it's gonna continue to grow. The last 3 years have probably been the best 3 in the recent history of game development, just because people are spending a lot more time online, and they're spending a lot more time playing, and they're kind of developing, they're refining their tastes. Thus, kind of like everyone knows this meme, kind of like the glorious PC master race. But I would kind of say that it's not necessarily a PC. Like, if you look at the numbers, it's not necessarily it's not PC players that are spending the most money, and it's not PC that's the biggest right now. It's probably mobile, but I would kind of say like it's the glorious gaming race that is taking. And I think that, like, there's a lot of people out there that are playing games. We're gonna look at that, and there's a lot of people that are developing games, and we're gonna talk a bit about that as well. And other than that, it would not be so fun. Like, you have the dirty, unfulfilled, non-gaming people to the left hand side. So in like 2019, to continue the stats on the industry part, in 2019, there were like over 1 billion gamers in the world, and it's grown. Like in 2020, it's grown to 2.7. There's a lot of that is coming from China, truth be told, but that's just because there's a lot of people in China. And I think that these are the results of a survey. These are the results of a survey, right? So they kind of ask people like, do you consider yourself a gamer? But in all fairness, there's a lot of people out there, like my mother, for example, that plays a lot of Candy Crush. She doesn't consider herself a gamer. So, if news for everyone, if you have ever played, and if you're ever playing like even one title, you are actually a gamer. So there might be actually more gamers right now out there, and like 2.7 billion. That's more than 30% of the world population. And here's the thing: most of the people are ages 18 to 35, like 40%. But like the more interesting part is like there's 50-year-olds that are playing, and they're big, right? It's 20% of the market. So there was this, for a long time, there was this perception that games and toys appeal to the same audience, which is kids. It's not true. And look, there's a lot of grown-ups that are playing, and I think they're awesome because they're playing games. And slowly but surely, as you've seen from the sales numbers as well, gaming is turning into the main entertainment industry. And specifically with mobile has been driving a lot of that. And I don't know if how many of you guys were around, but I want to pause just a bit and ask, like, do an open question, like, do you guys know what this game is? Like, what this phone is? But unfortunately I cannot see the chat. I don't know if something is
Everyone
happening.
knows this phone. I'm sure there are like so many memes about it.
Whoa, but Victoria, what's the name of the phone and what's the name of the game?
It's Nokia, but I'm bad with numbers.
It's a Nokia 3310.
33? Then yeah, I was going to say something similar.
Yeah, yeah. This is probably one of the first very popular games. This is one of the first games that kind of like changed society. Just because this was a very very popular phone back in the day, and like one of three people had this phone. Like one of maybe two out of three mobile phone owners had a phone, and like we're talking early 2000s, so not everyone had a cell phone. But I think like Nokia phones were one of the best phones around the market, and then they were also one of the most popular. And there were a lot of them were very accessible through, so they kind of like brought mobile phones into the mainstream. Much like Apple and Samsung are bringing smartphones, have brought smartphones into the mainstream. Like you can think of Nokia as the people who brought cell phones into the mainstream. So and this is one of the first games, and people would do this. They would just get their phone out whenever they would be bored, like have 2 minutes and play a game of Snake. And this was done like back then. This was done through WAP or WAP, Wireless Application Protocol. This was the name of the games that we were doing back then. Believe it or not, I did some WAP games, some WAP games back in the day, and it was just terrible to develop games for mobile phones. Albeit I started working on games when colored screen phones were starting to, like multimedia phones were starting to show up. But like even so, we had to fit a game into a package size of 356 kilobytes. So let me say that again: 356 kilobytes, not megabytes, not 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 gigabytes, not terabytes, but like kilobytes. But like things, so kind of to go back, there was PC and console, but then mobile started happening in late 1990s, and that's kind of like the kickstart of the mobile games. And then iPhone happened, and I think we're gonna talk a bit more about that. iPhone was the second change that came around, and I think like this is 2008, when Steve Jobs announced the iPhone. That was a major change in game development. And then the second major change was the advent of the App Store. So the App Store really changed the distribution model. And the App Store is kind of like the if the iPhone is the technology that brought smartphones into the mainstream, then kind of like, and the games, then the App Store is kind of like the distribution model that brought games into the mainstream. And this is because prior to the App Store and prior to iPhone, games were being sold through carriers, right? So carriers like Vodafone and Orange would get games from, like, let's say Gameloft, and they'd have a publishing deal. It was kind of difficult for independent developers to publish a mobile game back then. It was very difficult to do. And once this happened, once the App Store came along, and it was no longer under the tutelage of a carrier, everyone could publish a game. And we kind of saw this like explosion of indie developers kind of like storming the App Store and publishing a lot of games. It's kind of like, and it's a very similar revolution to Steam, right? So the App Store did for mobile phones the same thing that Steam did for PC. It brought indie developers into the mainstream. Right now, there's like mobile gamers are probably the biggest cohort around, and they are probably, like I was saying, they're driving the market right now. China is probably the biggest consumer of mobile games. But here's the part that I like more about this. There's almost 600 million gamers out there that are becoming adults, and it's kind of like it's people that have grown up with games, and we're talking about in marketing terms, we call them a Gen Z, and we also call them alphas, Gen Alpha. And if you we're starting to understand, by marketing study, we're starting to understand that the fact that these people have grown up with games is kind of like changing their behavior. They have very different behavioral kind of like patterns from the millennial generation. I encourage everyone to kind of look at, to Google Gen Z specific behaviors, and look at like how they're different from millennials. And it's because these people are growing up with instant access to entertainment, which is on their phones, and instant access to information, again through their mobile devices. I don't know how many people in the audience are kind of like part of this generation, but if you're out there, I just want to tell you guys that you're awesome. The fact that you are bringing games into the mainstream, the fact that you are popularizing revolutionary technologies, like, and this is not a joke in any way. The fact that you guys are driving TikTok, and the fact that TikTok is taking over, that's something being driven by Gen Z. The fact that games are coming into the mainstream, that's driven by Gen Z. So I think the point I want to make is that there's a slow but sure infusion of gamers into adult life. And it kind of makes sense, right? This is one of my favorite memes. It kind of makes sense that we we are making games part of our lives, because we do need entertainment and we do need escapism. We've been doing it for a while. Prior to this, right? So in ancient times, we had Greek tragedy that eventually turned into theater, and we have literature, and we have kind of like prior to that we had spoken word stories, and these are kind of like distractions from everyday life. It's pure escapism. And like the great news is that right now you can carry a piece of technology in your pocket that's gonna just give you instant access to instant escapism. You just jump into a game and have fun with it. So I'm gonna pause for a bit. Also, I'm gonna tell you guys my personal theory on why mobile games are so popular. But I want to pause for a bit and see if like I dropped a lot of information on you. Is there any questions, Victoria? Is there any questions that we should take right now, or should I keep going?
Right now, there aren't any questions yet, but I told everyone to ask their questions, so I'm waiting for. And guys, you can, like I already wrote as a comment, send your question.
Sounds good. Okay.
We are not supposed to gain also.
So in that case, before we kind of talk about the outlook, I want to tell you guys the kind of my personal theory about why games why mobile is taking over the world. And look, we've been like we as a species, we've been using our hands for quite some time. We have been using our uh, and we have been working with tools as well for quite some time. And you could argue that PC is a tool that we've been learning to use in the past. I would say like less than 70 years, but we've been working with tools for, I would say, like maybe I don't know how many thousands of years. We've been using our hands for a while. And I'm gonna pause the sharing just a bit, because I'm gonna invite everyone to look to reach into their pocket or wherever your phone is and bring it out and kind of look like how you interact with this. You kind of interact with your hands, and like you don't need to type, right? You don't need to understand anything. It's very intuitive. We've been touching things for like so many years. Like even like as a species, this is one of the most basic ways in which we interact with the world. We touch things. Our kind of like our senses, our primary sense is obviously seeing, but then touching is our secondary sense, and hearing is our third sense. So it kind of makes sense, right? Because everyone can, like you can see old people, they can interact with mobile phones. They're having problems interacting with consoles. They're having problems interacting with PCs, but like everyone has a mobile phone, and it's because all the interaction, like 90% of the interaction, 99% of the interaction is done through sight and through touching. And like I wish it was more of an elaborate theory than that, but that's all I have. But I think this is why mobile phones are taking over, because they're so intuitive and they're so easy to interact with. I'm gonna go back to the presentation right now, and I'm gonna talk a bit about the kind of like the outlook of the industry. So like in Romania we have five major players, and like four of them you can see right now on the screen: EA Sports, Bandai Namco, Gameloft, and Ubisoft. And I know for a fact that Gameloft and Ubisoft actually have a presence in Sofia. They've been around, I think, for at least 7 to 8 years. And like these are massive companies that are kind of like they act as job providers, but also like entry points into the industry, kind of like going back to my story of joining as a game tester. In Romania, there's also Amber. We've been around for the past 9 years. 9 years, right? Yes, 9 years. We did a bunch of games, and we started in Bucharest. Right now, we have offices in Botosani. So obviously we have offices in Bucharest, Botosani, which is north of Romania. There was an office in Ukraine, but then obviously life happens. We recently opened a office in Poland, and we're building a small game development presence over there. There's an office in Mexico, which I think it's quite a big office. Anna, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we're talking about like 130 people, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So big development team over there. There's an office in Los Angeles. There's an office in San Francisco. Am I missing anyone? Hopefully there's
Actually, you are missing 3. We are opening Taiwan, Philippines, and Colombia.
Yes. So, and hopefully Sofia at some point. We're gonna keep growing. We're lucky to work with some of the big companies, and that's kind of our growth. We're an agency, so there's some games like you can see on the screen, the games that we did work for, and these are games fully produced by Amber, but then there's a slew of games that Amber has worked on but not fully produced. And I think like there's a total of, Anna, can you help me? How many people right now in Amber? It's over 1,000.
1,000, and 2 weeks ago we were 1,017.
Right, 1,017. So we could basically start a nation right now, like small.
Oh yes.
Yes, like a small nation, but we could start a nation, like a small island. We could take over the Snake Island in like the Black Sea, and call it Amberland. But joke aside, Amber and kind of like all these companies do yearly or like monthly. You can like watch their pages because they do a lot of internships. And if you're an engineer and you're looking to get into the space, and you're just getting out of university, like let's talk, let's have a conversation, because you might want to work for either Amber or Gameloft or Ubisoft just because it's such an awesome industry. Or if you're a graphic artist, same goes. And like even if you're not doing something specific, like join us as a game tester, right? Because being a game developer is awesome. Like in Romania right now, and this is data from 2016, so we should probably update this, but there was 80 plus studios, and mind you, we're talking about and 65 of them were registered companies. So we're not talking about the kind of like indie teams, right? People that develop games in their attic or in their basement. We're talking about registered companies, and we were kind of doing 145 million in revenue, which is money that kind of like goes into Romania, and I'm sure there's definitely money coming in through the Bulgarian industry as well.
Maybe, Gabe, if you
Yeah.
allow me to interrupt you, this
Yeah.
is a slide for youngsters' parents. So
Yes.
if a parent would find out how serious, how big, how important, how inclusive our industry is, how much revenue is able to generate annually, and how fast is growing, parents will trust and will be more preoccupied in guiding children building a professional career within our industry, and not considering gaming industry just when it comes of summer jobs.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
I just want to include also that one of our priorities at ARC is to popularize the game industry, and we all know that among the parents that's a bit more difficult. It's like a really tricky ice. You will have to be really like careful not to break. Last week we had this webinar, another one, where we actually had like a circle of professionals from the industry, also like a director from a really like important school here in Sofia, and they all talked about the possibilities of working in the game dev industry. And we actually engaged so many people saw that webinar and then wrote us how they actually were like not enlightened about the possibilities, but how they didn't know until then that there was a game industry and that they could actually support their children to follow the path of becoming a game developer. And that's actually really cool, because sometimes they're like, everyone from the youngsters, they play video games. Not everyone realizes that they can also create games, but even some which they actually want to do that, their parents can stop them because they think that this is not like a serious industry. And now we are showing them that it's actually really serious.
It is quite impossible for parents to guide children. I say not totally, but quite impossible, because this is a very fresh industry, and you know the classic jobs. You know what to do if you want to become a lawyer, a teacher, I don't know, an accountant. There is educational system for all these jobs, but there aren't educational systems for the gaming industry. And parents and even children who are in touch of technology and they are in touch with the technological progress, they do not imagine that if they are studying mathematics, they could become a business intelligence specialist in a BI department totally dedicated for the success of a game. You can think that you can become a teacher, a mathematics teacher, or maybe a programmer, and so on. But there are so many other new jobs that this industry is providing, jobs that we are already prepared for, but we don't know about the jobs. And we don't know that our educational background is supporting us to reach to these jobs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think just because Anna makes a good point about the fact that this industry hasn't been around for such a long time. I think we've been around for the past 40 years. So, and like coupled with the fact, and I think like this is why ARC Academy is just amazing, right? Because you guys are bringing this into the mainstream. And look, like from a pure like the game. If you haven't if you didn't get this by now, the game development industry is making a lot of money, and you can build a great career and have an awesome salary as part of this industry. But kind of like material things aside, this is for both for parents and for young people that want to join this. If you want to have one of the most spiritually rich lives, professional lives that is out there, like join the game development industry, just because you get to talk to so many people and you get to see so many different disciplines. Like you get to work with artists, and you get to work with designers, and you get to work with developers, and you get to work with QA engineers, and you get to work with writers, and you get to work with managers, and etc. Right? So I think apart from the medical and probably the film industry, this is one of the most diverse industries that you could be part of, and purely from a discipline perspective, and just working with these people and kind of like seeing how their brains function is just going to change change the outlook that you have on life in general, and it's all kind of like grows you spiritually. But like if you're not into that, just join the game development industry, because you can build an awesome career out of it. So I'm gonna keep going just a bit. I'm probably gonna rush a bit, and I'm gonna say I'm gonna skip this part. But like, how do I join the industry, right? So apart from like, you should watch the Amber page. You should kind of like follow Arc Academy, follow Amber, follow Ubisoft, follow GameLoft, follow all these guys, just because there's openings happening every time. But like, go to a game jam, because game jams are what I like to call celebrations. They're like game development parties, if you will. But essentially, you form a team. It's usually a engineer, so a programmer of sorts, a designer of sorts, and a graphic artist of sorts. It's usually people that can do at least one of these jobs. But some of them can do both. Some of them can do none. But they have awesome ideas, and format is usually PC, but it can be tabletop games. But you form a team, and you can like make a game in 72 hours or 48 hours or 24 hours, just work straight to develop a prototype or demo of a game that you would really want to work on. Then you share it with other people, they play it, and usually the most popular game wins an award. And then at the beginning of each year there's Global Game Jam, and this is probably, if I were to recommend one game jam, this is probably it. Just because it happens on the internet, you can partake from the comfort of your own home into this game jam. It's a worldwide game jam, and you can actually meet people from around the world that love making games. And like, if you should also go to itch.io, because that's probably the hub for game jams. If you want to go do a game jam, and then one of my favorite game jams is the 7-day FPS challenge. And that usually happens at the end of each year, early December. And one of the original games that was created initially as part of this game jam is Counter-Strike, a little bit like the old Counter-Strike, not Global Offensive, but like Counter-Strike 1.6. Prior to being Counter-Strike 1.6 or 1.5 or 1.2, it was a prototype done by a fellow called Gooseman as part of this game jam. And also another popular title that came out of the 7-day FPS challenge is Super Hot. I don't know if you guys are playing that game. It's an amazing game. You should play it. And I usually recommend this just because I'm a huge kind of like first-person shooter fan. But go to itch.io or go to Global Game Jam and like join a game jam, because you can probably make any game you want. Then other than that, there's obviously follow the Amber page. We're also working with an NGO, with a Romanian NGO. Their name is Arden, and they have a mentoring program, so you can probably join this program for free. And kind of like find out what's happening in the game, have an intro to the game development industry. Their program takes about I think 5 weeks, and once you join, you're invited to select what you want to know more about. So if you want to be, you can kind of like take engineering, or you can kind of take graphic art or whatever. You get paired with a mentor. You get paired with a mentor from the Romanian or the US game development industry, and they kind of work with you to kickstart your career in game development. And obviously follow Arc Academy, right? Just because they are awesome and they're making wonderful events like this one. So this is like the end of my. This is the end of my slides, and I'm gonna pause for a bit, but super happy to answer any questions. This is my second best.
I have this question. They asked me in message. Can they say more about internships, because like I suppose other people are also really interested about the internships, because honestly what I know from like my experience in the game dev industry is that especially here in Bulgaria they aren't so many internships, sadly, and this is like a topic and a question we get asked all the time, so maybe you can clarify about this.
I can take this, and thank you, Victoria, very, very much. Yes, there aren't as many internship programs as we desire, as youngsters desire. Um, all the gaming companies do open internship programs, but the number is very limited. Some of the companies prefer to have these internship programs open for already people employed in their companies that desire to change the role. For instance, if I am a junior game tester, but I have graduated an art school and within my gaming company, I have attended an art training also, and an internship program is also set for the company's employees. They can apply and they have they are interviewed, and actually these internship programs are more visible and very fast opened, closed with the internal people. But at the same time, each company has totally dedicated for externals internship programs. It is very hard for all of us, especially during pandemic, to integrate interns. Why? Because when you take an intern, the intern has the theoretic basis, the theoretic background. And when you accept an intern in your company, you need to dedicate a mentor, and that mentor should spend at least 3 months close to the intern, which is quite difficult, especially while working from home, because all that interaction is supposed to be done in online. It's not impossible, but it's quite difficult. Therefore, I'm encouraging and I'm recommending people to use social media, to use local job sites and search for internships. There are internship programs opened by almost all gaming companies. Even Amber is struggling this year to integrate interns within internship programs, especially because some of our colleagues are teaching in the art faculty here in Bucharest, and they met several students during this master class, and we want to integrate few of these people in internship programs in the art guild. So I will, as a student, I will not be discouraged, and I will use social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, searching through these channels internship programs within gaming companies. Gabriel already mentioned very many gaming companies. He offered us names. So I will start as a student. I will start first creating a gaming company list, and then I will search on their websites, and then I will use social media in search for these types of educational programs. Either we are talking about internships or we are talking about game jams.
Thank you really much for your detailed information. We have more questions. I'm like excusing myself if I cannot pronounce the names of the Romanian people in the right way. I'm sorry, guys, really. The first question is from Calancia Cesar. All sounds good, but the salaries in Romania are not so big, or maybe they're big if you're in a higher post. So it's not really like a question, it's a statement.
Shall we? Okay, I'll take this too. It's a very, very vague and general statement. Yes, salaries are different, but this happens all over the world. If we are talking about junior positions or senior positions, the salaries are aligned. All the companies are aligned. Yes, it is true. It is. We are talking about one salary when it comes to a junior game tester, junior game programmer, junior game designer, and it's a totally different story if we are talking about people with, I don't know, 2, 3, 15-year plus experience in the game development. But I would really consider the gaming industry, if we are talking about salaries, we are talking about the IT&C industry at the end of the day, because games are software projects, and we all know that in this industry we can find a really fair and good salaries comparing with other industry. It isn't easy to get a job into this industry because we don't have background, or because we don't have an educational background, and we really need to start from scratch and from junior roles, where salaries indeed aren't the ones that we need to pay a rent, to pay a school, to pay our facilities, and we still need at the beginning help from other resources, but otherwise I will really take into consideration this gaming industry, because it comes with technology. Technology is always evolving and is always keeping us in front of all other industry from all the points of view.
Yeah,
so it's really vague. Yeah, I don't know.
I wanna add something to this, Anna.
Please.
Look, you're not. I think Cesar, right? Is the person that asked this. So Cesar, you are definitely not gonna join the industry for the salary that you have in your first year, and it's kind of like every job, right? Every job that you join, you're gonna grow into that job. You're gonna start, like, let's say that you're gonna start, like, take my example. I started as a junior tester, and then I got my first raise when I became a full-time tester, kind of like an intermediate, and then I went to senior tester, and my salary increased. And like back then, it was, you guys are gonna laugh, but it was like 200 US dollars. Right, so it was basically nothing, but like still for me as a student living with my parents, like that was a lot of money. So but I think you should be thinking about this, number one, in the long term, because if you kind of like, if you look at the salaries that game development engineers, senior game development engineers make, and that's, by the way, that's public data. Usually you can go to Glassdoor or any other, I think you can even get this on LinkedIn. You can kind of get a salary range. Your salary is going to increase as you spend time in your role and as you evolve in your role. So don't go for the money that you make in the first year. You should be thinking about mid to long term about this. And mid to long term in the game development industry, it's like midterm can happen very fast. Midterm can happen like the first 2 years. You're probably going to get a raise in your first 6 months. I don't want to talk, like, I'm not going to say like that's the standard, right? Your salary is not going to double in the first 6 months, but you're definitely going to get a raise. So that's one. And then The second thing is, I didn't have any formal education for game development, and again, this is why I think that ARC Academy is amazing, because as you go into one of these programs, or you go into Amber Academy, or you kind of go into the Echo mentoring program, you get an insight, and you can kind of like you can kickstart your career over here. And it's like it would be very difficult to do that in like the medical industry. You cannot go into the medical industry if you don't have proper education for that. And this is where this industry is special, because you can kind of start without any proper training or proper education. So number one, you're going in it for the long term. Number two, your salary is going to increase. It's probably going to increase quite fast. And number three, you're being educated as part of making games, which for me is amazing. It's amazing. That's it.
Thank you.
What I wanted to
Victoria,
add.
one more question.
We have not only one more question. We have a lot of other questions, by the way. So next question is from Adrian. What skills, knowledge, and aspiring 3D artists should have in order to get the junior positions? Or like what should contain his portfolio?
I can take this. So there's
3D artist, junior, yeah?
3D artists, yes. Adrian, so you should number one, you should be looking into hard surface. So hard surface modeling, and low poly modeling, that is the main thing in our industry. There's also there's a growing branch of character development, and that's done. That's more high poly, and that's more specific. It's usually programs like ZBrush, and then the other thing that you want to start studying is probably Blender or Maya 3D. As in terms of portfolio, I cannot make any recommendations, just because it's kind of so hard to say this is the level of art that you should reach. But like you can go to ArtStation and just search for people in the industry right now. There's a ton of artists that are part of the industry, and you can kind of see their portfolio, and that will give you some ideas of not where you should be right now, but like what is the direction, what's the level of of quality that you are aiming for. So yeah, that's it. Hard surface, low poly modeling. Any skills into more technical art like rigging and skinning, that's gonna help. Understanding some sort of animation and understanding bipedal animation, that will definitely help as well. And also just study ArtStation, and you're kind of gonna understand what is the level in the industry. I hope I answered your question, and if not, you can mail myself or Anna, and we can get you in touch with a artist from Amber. They can kind of like show you around and answer any more specific questions, any other specific questions.
Yeah, we have another question. It's from like a Bulgarian person, so really thankful that there's also like Bulgarians watching this webinar. Okay, just a second until like the page is loading, because yeah. Just a question, just a second.
During this second, I want to thank you very much, our Romanian people, from joining this meeting and sending us their questions.
Yeah, actually, there are like a lot of Romanian people watching it, and they were like expecting the stream to start again. So I'm also really thanking them that they waited. The next question is from Todor, and he it's actually I'm gonna read it. It's a bit long. If there is an increase in need for workforce in the industry, doesn't that mean that internships should be more widespread? It sort of feels like the industry is gatekeeping, offering opportunities for already employed people. Feels like people are at a disadvantage from the very start.
I wouldn't. Gaming companies are businesses in the end of the day. They are not schools. They do develop games to generate that revenue. At the same time, gaming companies cannot generate revenue, cannot develop games unless they do attract talent and they do know how to keep people engaged within their companies. So it's a balance. Definitely, we are continuously headhunting experienced talents, because with these experienced talents, we can do two things. One, develop games, generate revenue, and with this generated revenue by these experienced people, we can today come to ARC and deliver this type of sessions or workshops or master classes or even long-term classes within faculties. And with these experienced talents that we are headhunting, we can prepare youngsters as you. And definitely the number of experienced people within a company is larger and is always going to be larger than the juniors. Because with these experienced people, we need to accomplish two missions: keep the business live and generate revenue, and at the same time, educate young, passionate communities of game development. This is the reason we are headhunting talents, and we want, each company desires to have the best experienced people in game development, and the number of juniors is smaller than the number of experienced people.
Yeah, and I want to add, Todor, join ARC. Like, join ARC, and you're definitely gonna get experience, or like join the mentoring program over at Echo in Arden, because that's gonna give you an edge, right? Like even as you're part of this conversation, you're getting an edge over a lot of other people. And like experience is something that you can build. You can build experience. I knew nothing about design I joined, as I was telling you, I joined Gameloft as a game tester, and then the first opening that I ever applied for was a level design opening for a 3D game, and I literally knew nothing about level design in 3D games. So I started modding Unreal Tournament. I don't know if I don't know what your age is, but Unreal Tournament used to be a big thing when I was 22, and it had this amazing editor that you could play around with, and there were so many mods that were happening. So that's how I learned. I learned by just getting tutorials and kind of building my own maps, sharing it with friends. They were telling me, this is crap. We're not gonna play this. Let's go back. And then I started making Quake 3 maps because I wanted to learn. And they lit a fire under my ass, right? They were like, "Oh, this is shit. You can do better." I was like, "Okay, I can do better." And I studied I did all sorts of level design for 3 months straight, and I failed my interview. I failed the test for a level. I didn't get the job, but I did it again, and eventually I did get a job as a game designer. So while yes, it is, there's a lot of competition happening. Kind of like in this day and age, with the internet opening so much, and there's so many tools out there, you can actually build experience just by making mods or making models for League of Legends or anything else, and just getting feedback from the community and learning to use the tools. It's something that a lot of people are doing. I would say that maybe 90% of the 3D artists that I've worked with are self-taught 3D artists, just because there's no formal education for 3D art in Romania, and I don't think there's any in Bulgaria either. So it's like these people spend most of their days and nights in front of computers, and they're self-taught. And this is more attainable now than it has ever been. Do you have any other question?
Yeah, you were like just in time started talking about game and level design, because our next question is from Daniel, and it's he asks, if you can make a decent CS:GO map, do you have a chance for a junior level designer?
Oh, for sure. Like, look, if you can make a decent Counter-Strike map, you are probably like you're in the top 30% of people who can get a job in this industry. Now there's probably not people that are specifically recruiting for Counter-Strike level designers, but the fact that you understand how gameplay works and what makes a Counter-Strike map fun, and kind of like how to use the tools, that's essentially very that's information that not a lot of people have, and you can probably take those learnings and apply for a job at I don't know, another company that does 3D shooters, and you can probably build a portfolio that would definitely recommend you, right? So if you build 2 to 3 maps that are played, and you share them around, and it's not necessarily, doesn't even have to be like super popular map, but just the fact that you have a portfolio of levels that you've built is a huge advantage that you will have in the recruitment process, because like if when a level designer is going to look at your CV, they're going to be like, oh, so this guy is already making games, I don't have to teach him, I have to teach him less. So that's a big advantage, and keep doing that. Like keep making those maps and putting them out there and see what feedback you get.
Very good. So our next question, it's actually a follow-up question from Adrian. His question was about the 3D skills for the aspiring 3D artist. So his question right now is, where can I email you? Because you say that everyone can email you and ask you stuff.
You can email Anna. Look, if you can see her video right now, it's her name is Anna@amberstudio.com.
Yeah, I'm gonna write it in the comment as an answer.
Yeah. Or you can email me. It's Gabriel@amberstudio.com, and we can connect you to some people.
Okay, cool. One more question is for the portfolio. Actually, these questions about finding job and portfolio questions, they're like most of the times people ask only about this. And the next portfolio question is about how many artworks we should have if we want to apply for a concept art or 3D artist job, and what kind of portfolio do we need to have if we want to apply for a game design or level design portfolio?
I will definitely let Gabriel answer to this question, but I will start. And I would say it's not a matter of how much, it's a matter of quality. And Gabriel, you have the mic.
Yeah. So when it comes to level design, it's a lot easier because Anna makes a good point about quality, and it's very easy to test your creations, right? So if you're doing level design, you can probably, like, let's take Counter-Strike, right? Global Offensive. Let's take that. If you are able to build those maps, you can probably start the game server and invite some friends over and just play that, and you can get feedback from them. You can also publish it on ModDB, for example, and you can kind of like get feedback over there as well. So it's, in terms of quality, you can understand quality. Just ask people what they think about your map, and you don't have to be a level designer in order, like, you don't need a professional to tell you if your map is fun or not. You can kind of see if people are having fun, and I would say that if you can make 2 to 3, if you've done 2 to 3 more complex levels, again, it doesn't have to be dust, right? It doesn't have to be DE dust. It doesn't have to be that level. But if you can build something that is close to that, then you're probably an amazing level designer, and you're going to be very, very, very popular. But I would say, like, get feedback fast and iterate. That's the big thing. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there and get feedback. And you're going to get haters. You're going to be like, oh, this is shit. Like, just ignore those people. Those people are assholes. Just ignore them and try to talk to the people that can give you relevant feedback. They're going to tell you, like, look, it kind of feels like it's the placement of the items on the map is not, I don't feel it, or it's not that visually appealing, right? You can get that sort of more articulated feedback, and you can get that from friends, and you can get that from communities on the internet, and just put yourself out there. When it comes to art, I would say that it's going to go, again, you're probably going to turn to community. So if you're not part of like a mentoring program, or if you're not part of a program like ARC, where you can get like professional feedback, I would say just put your stuff on ArtStation and ask for feedback. Like, just show it around to everyone. Ask for feedback. And you're slowly but surely, you're going to iterate. At first, it's going to be like, people are going to be like, they're going to probably ignore you, or they won't have that good feedback. But as you iterate and as you build more and more of these kind of like artworks, you're going to get more and more feedback. And you can do that on Instagram, and you can do that on Facebook, but anywhere you can build exposure, you can get feedback about your work. And to Anna's point, it's not about volume, it's more about quality. And I would say do that for 3 months straight. Just dedicate the next 3 months to just putting yourself out there, putting your work out there, getting feedback, and just see where that takes you, because you're definitely going to get better. If you keep doing it over and over and again, you're definitely going to get better. It's guaranteed. It's much like bodybuilding, right? So if you hit the gym, like if you're gonna hit the gym once, you're not gonna see any results. Like if you do it for like two to 4 weeks, you're gonna start seeing some results. You're gonna like, oh, I can lift heavier things now. But then if you do it for 3 months, you're gonna start building amazing muscles. So and you just have to do it over and over and over again. So I don't know if Adrian, I don't know if you were looking for a more specific answer. Unfortunately, there's no specific answer. Like, do 50 of these. Do 7 Counter-Strike Go maps, or do 20 artworks, and you're gonna be amazing. But I would say just do this experiment. Put yourself out there for like a month. Put yourself out there. Do it daily for a month, and I'm sure you're going to level up, and some people are going to be like, oh my god, he's getting better and better. Maybe we should consider him for a job. That's
Okay,
it.
and we have one more last question from our Bulgarian audience. Thank you there so much. What is your opinion on the longevity of the mobile industry? Is it a fleeting thing where it's big now and it will die out soon, or it's here to stay?
You know what? I think it's here to stay. I don't think it's ever gonna go away, because people. I think that there are some trends on mobile that are here to stay. I think gaming on mobile is here to stay, just because people are not going to give up their phones anytime soon. I think that Instagram, Facebook, like social networking on mobile is here to stay. And I don't know if you guys know this. You probably do, but like Facebook right now is a mobile first company. So all of the development that they're doing is being done with a mobile mindset. They're thinking about these devices first. They're no longer thinking about the desktop version. Obviously, not talking about their AR stuff. That's like the next big thing. And AR is actually going to be big on mobile as well. Mobile is one of the biggest drivers in AR technology right now. So it's here to stay. And if it were to go away, there would be a huge gap left in the market. And we kind of know that PC plays along nice with console and with mobile, and we're kind of finding out that there's even more room for games. So it's not that it's right. It's PC, consoles, and game and mobile, but it's also instant messaging games right now that are making they're coming in hot, and there's Facebook games, and there's a lot of room in game development for a lot of devices and a lot of markets and market opportunities. They're definitely here to stay. If they're not here to stay, then I'm going to be like, hey, I need a job, but I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah, we all hope that it doesn't happen, but I'm like, happen. Like mobile games, everyone is playing mobile games. Like the grandmother on the bus, the old guy on the train. Like I've noticed people like when I'm just like traveling around and they're all playing games. And sometimes like honestly, I really like playing video games, but more like computer games, not really mobile games. And sometimes I've been wondering like, okay, why I shouldn't play mobile games? And I started playing mobile games, and now I'm like all the time on my phone. That's not good. It's like specific obsessive, I think, elements, part of them in the mobile games, but that's why they're like created sadly. Okay, I'm just checking for like more questions. Sadly, we don't have, but I think that already you said so many things, and I'm so grateful that you were here today with us, guys. I really would like to make like a part 2 of that webinar. Like I'm pretty sure that everyone will want again. And yeah, if you have something to say, then please do. And I'm just saying again that I'm really grateful for everyone who watched us. And if you like have questions after the webinar, you can always write to us on social media, to ARC. We will answer you, or you can also write to Anna. Anna, sorry, I gave your email.
No problem, it is public.
Comments.
I will be first. Thank you again for the invitation. I can commit that we can support you for a part 2. I can tell you that I come to students not just only with Gabriel, who is basically he's a game designer and a producer at the same time. But I do come with people from other disciplines, meaning engineering or even quality assurance, so that students have a complete, as much as we can, a complete image about what a career in game development may look like. So count on Amber, count on us. We will come and talk to students more than once a year. If you invite us and if you connect us with your students, we will say yes.
For
And
sure.
thank you
You
and
have, like,
enjoy. And I really hope that we could offer you answers to relevant answers and also relevant information.
I officially invite you to come visit us here in Sofia. You're gonna meet with our students. We're gonna make them like a special presentation about it with them. Also, you can also see our the new game of our advanced students, and we will be really happy to see you here in Sofia.
Thank you very much for the invitation, and we will really consider, Gabriel and me, we will really consider to your proposals.
I don't accept another answer to that question.
No, I love Sofia actually. Let's do it. Let's definitely do it. Let's see how we make it happen. Let's talk.
Totally.
And thank you Arc Academy. Thank you Victoria, everyone in the audience, Anthony. It's been very good, and hope to hear you to see you again soon.
Yeah, of course. Okay, thank you everyone. We're telling you good night. Leka noști. How it's good night in Romanian. I'm sorry.
Noapte bună.
Noapte bună.
We can stop the Facebook Live.